Hi folks, if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, and if you're new to the channel, my name's Lindsay and I make fly tying and fly fishing videos. This week I am back to an old stomping ground of mine, Bewl Water, to compete in the last fixture of the season for the Affiliation of major fly fishing clubs. In this match, all three divisions come together to compete. So, without further ado, let's get into it. I arrived at the fishery before sunrise, as I am still like a kid at Christmas when I am going for a day's fishing. This gave me the opportunity to capture the drone footage that you are watching now. As I said at the start, Bewl used to be a fishery I visited nearly on a weekly basis, living only 80 miles from the venue. Sadly, it followed Hanningfield down the road of becoming an any method fishery. The first day of this was the 12th of July in 2012, and I only really go when there is a match on. To be fair, it was probably this or losing the venue altogether. This is the economics of the industry. If you don't use it, you're going to lose it. Bewl itself, like Chew, is nestled in a beautiful location. The 30 metre high and 1,800 metre long dam was built by excavating clay from the grounds to dam the valley. Once complete, the valley was flooded and filled with water. The Soldier Palmers, after an excellent start to the campaign, really faltered in the last two matches. It would be a tall order for us to top the league. That said, we had done enough to ensure we were not in danger of relegation. This meant that it was going to be a relaxed day. Due to work commitments, I was unable to practice, so was relying on the information I could glean from the socials and the lads that had made the effort to get out and practice. I have to be honest, the reports were not pretty reading. The fishing had been very slow, although there were signs that it was coming back to life. This is most likely directly linked to the water temperature cooling. The fishery had also stocked several thousand fish. Despite this, reports from everyone I spoke with were not good, and fish were hard to come by. Conditions looked favourable though, and I was optimistic that I could get one. Yes, one. That's the target that I set myself after taking everything into consideration. Just one fish. Just before the match, the Bristol team who had practiced the day before got in their cars and left. There had been an incident in regards to a disabled angler wishing to drop his kit off by the boat dock and being refused. I don't believe it was the fact that he was refused, but the way in which the member of Bewl staff went about it. A formal complaint has been lodged and hopefully a successful resolution will be reached. A complete nightmare for the match organiser, and a quick reshuffle of the boat draw had to be made. I was to spend my day with Peter Baker from Walthamstow, who had already in their first season won Group 3. I had spent a day afloat with Peter in his first ever competition match years before at Farmoor. It was a tough day then, as I recall. Guys, if you're enjoying the videos, please don't forget to leave them a like and consider subscribing to the channel. It is absolutely free and you can unsubscribe at any time. That said, let's jump straight back in. Peter was content to let me drive. There was no pressure on either of the two of us, as both our team's fates were already decided. That said though, we obviously wanted to do our best. Peter set up on a midge tip with a team of nymphs, and I went with a fast glass and a couple of boobies. My thought process being that pulling flies for the first hour might pick me up a bonus fish. I would then switch to my backup method, which was the slow tip and a washing line setup. Before the Bristol lads had left for home, they kindly mentioned that there was a good head of fish in Canoe Club Corner. It was as good a place to start as any. I have to say, conditions looked fantastic and morale was bolstered further when Barry Vaughan netted a fish close to the dam on the right of me. After a few drifts though, my optimism started to diminish. None of the boats around us were taking fish and we were getting no encouragement from the fish themselves by ways of offers or follows. It was time to make a big move to some fresh water. We agreed to move over to Chingley Wood. As we arrived, I saw a fish swirl in the surface and stopped the boat short, pointing out to Peter where I saw the fish. He cast to cover it and he hooked it and landed the first fish of the day, dropping another shortly afterwards. Our tails were up. We were both concentrating hard to try and catch the fish. I had at this point changed to my slow tip with a couple of black nymphs and a small black booby on the point to keep the cast high in the water. Most I spoke with had nothing, and the odd person had one or two, but those were few and far between. The upside, of course, was the company, and Peter and I enjoyed the day despite the lack of action. It was strange because it did feel like it should be fishing, and any minute I expected my line to go tight. In these situations it is difficult to stay focused, but this is so critical because you may only get one or two chances. If you're not paying attention, you might well see the opportunity go past you. With just 2 hours to go and near the end of what seemed like my millionth cast, my line was ripped from my hand and I locked up onto a fish. Well, I say a fish, it was like a trout, only smaller. Despite its size, it gave a fantastic account of itself. I was more than a little relieved when it found its way to the back of my net. Blank avoided. I had no other opportunities that day. As we were wrapping up and getting ready to go in, Peter had a fish follow and snatch at his flies, but the fish failed to connect. We got back to the jetty and the inevitable carnage of getting off the boat ensued. After safely negotiating this, it was time to weigh in. The boys really worked hard and everyone brought something to the scales. Vish was our top rod with 2. Just to put that into context, Bewl Bridge as a team had only 1 fish. A very difficult day indeed.
It's like a fish, only smaller.
After the match, most stayed on for the meal and presentations in the sailing club. It's always good to catch up with old friends and it really does give another aspect of enjoyment to the occasion. Stories were told and prizes were given. Congratulations to Tunbridge Wells on being top of the pile. I will stick the results at the end of this video. If you would like to compete in next year's AMFC, why not approach your local major club? They would be glad to have you on board and it really is a fantastic event to learn how to fish better. Thanks for watching and I will see you all in the next one.